Before this starts playing, I want to say something to my viewing base, my viewers, those that like me or hate me or love me or despise me. In 2005, being forced out of the Northwest Tennessee area because of a bunch of clowns that was trying to ruin my life by charging me with falsifying files, I basically knew that this area had it in for me. So because of it, I wound up moving to Nashville, Tennessee. While I was up in Davidson County, this is in 205, I went ahead and started passing out a bunch of literature. And in the process of passing out this literature, there were some people that was getting a hold of it that didn't like what I was saying, even though freedom of speech, freedom of religion. Secret Service basically entrapped me while I was working in a dealership south of Nashville, calling me up, wanting me to go to their headquarters. And then after I got there, they had some woman waiting that worked in a crisis center that wound up saying, yeah, there's something wrong with him. Put him in the psychiatry ward, and let's punch on him a little bit. So I stayed in there basically for 4 days before they let me out. Keep in mind, I was working in a dealership and I had, give or take, probably $25,000-$30,000 worth of work on the floor. Had 3 automobiles broke down at the same time. That's the type of work, and that's the type of procedure that I used. In getting a artist to paintbrush a t-shirt, sending it to the 43rd President of the United States that said a bloody road ahead in 205, right either during or before Hurricane Katrina hit. I had no idea that 15 years ago, looking into the crystal ball, that I had already done foreseen where we are now then. So if you don't mind, please listen to this story pertaining to gun violence. Thank you very much.
Among them, a mother and child allegedly kidnapped. Violence ticked up. At least 44 cases. Among them, a mother and child allegedly kidnapped Monday.
A female and her child was abducted and brought out here to Cheney Lake. At Cheney Lake, there was an altercation that occurred.
Virtually no area of the country was immune, but as ABC dug into the numbers, they showed violence disproportionately hit poor and urban areas.
People are afraid to go to malls. People are afraid to go to theaters. People are afraid to go to parks.
From Los Angeles to Chicago to New York, where this stunning video caught our attention. 2 men, guns drawn in broad daylight.
Are people more brazen in carrying their weapons? Has something shifted?
I don't think there's any doubt. But the data here in New York City is more guns on the scene of shootings, more rounds being fired.
New York City saw a 73% increase in shootings in May 2021 compared to the same time last year. On Tuesday, Commissioner Dermot Shea told us a lethal mix of factors is largely driving the surge. Gang violence, budget cuts, COVID shutting down the courts, leaving a backlog of more than 5,000 gun cases.
Taking the gun off the street is great. But really what we need is we need the individual carrying the gun off the street.
Increasing gun arrests and targeting repeat offenders has led to some signs of success. A dip in the rate last month. Shea remains unsatisfied.
Who are the victims?
When you look at who's getting shot in this city right now, it's about 97% people of color. It's way off the charts.
For Chief Judith Harrison, the fight is personal.
As an African American, obviously, it was painful to hear that he said 90% of your victims are people of color.
Horrifying statistic, but it's not just about statistics. It's not just about people of color. It's about everyone.
Philadelphia facing an even worse explosion.
It's been a minute since I've done this.
On Wednesday, Philly police allowing us to ride along. A small number of streets.
Now, did you hear what he just said? He said Philadelphia also with an explosion of gun violence. I used the word explosion talking to a convenience store teller And they wound up trying to charge me towards marking me up towards me being a homegrown terrorist right here in my own home county in Northwest Tennessee. You wonder what is occurring. I'm telling you right now, all these victims that have went through all this suffering and pain, they need to come to Northwest Tennessee and rattle shake house per house, family per family, and ask them how come they did not support a ministry that supported peace and utopia. Because that's exactly where we are right now with what has went on and what is going on. Once more, God showed me that there was going to be a bloody road ahead. A true bloody road ahead. And that's what we have walked off into right here in the good old USA.
Infected with gun violence.
We see this corner store right here. I want to call it a person. There's 6 people shot. This is another corner here where we have multiple shootings.
The streets that night quiet until they weren't.
And now there's reports of shots fired at another end of the city.
A shooting outside this restaurant famous for its cheesesteaks.
That's a shell casing right on the ground right there. See where the white circle's drawn around it. I don't know what it is. You get closer to 2 o'clock, stuff starts popping.
As we waited at the scene, the horrible news.
So he was pronounced deceased.
The person here died. That's horrible.
Philadelphia Police Commissioner Danielle Outlaw telling us the argument was over a parking space.
A lot of the...
You see, in 2008, whenever the bubble burst hit, and fuel went up to $4 and $5 a gallon, right here in the U.S., and I guess some truck drivers was probably paying $5 and $6 a gallon, depending upon what state that they was in, where they was at. That, in and of itself, put a great deal of strain upon to the system, because our government had to bail out 2 or 3 major car industries and the banking industry and 2 or 3 other places. That was a hiccup in the road, or a speed bump in the road towards trying to figure out what was going on, going back that far towards the bubble burst that occurred. Since then, we have tried to grapple with the problems that really didn't go away, but we just subsided them a little bit. Now, since coronavirus has hit and all these businesses are shut down and the cart has been tipped over pertaining to the straw that broke the camel's back, this is the results that we're seeing today based off of survival. And the people going through the bubble burst didn't have nothing to have to worry about as long as they had a good old state or county job or federal job. Their employment kept coming. They never hit a beat, never missed a beat. Didn't matter if you was a sheriff or a judge. If you was a politician, you got fed well while everybody else was suffering. Well, now the suffering has turned into something more than just suffering. Now it's turned into a horror show. And the people that we have to blame are those who was in charge of these affairs that has allowed for this atmosphere to turn so sour and so bad right here in the good old USA. Right here in Northwest Tennessee.
beefs or social media disputes or whatever they're being resolved with a firearm.
Outlaw acknowledges the challenges of policing in the era of George Floyd and building community trust.
I'm a cop and I'm a black woman. And so because I have all of these lived experiences and these different perspectives, I understand why the police do what we do. But I also understand the hurt and the torment in our communities.
In so many neighborhoods, small numbers of repeat offenders terrorizing overwhelmingly law-abiding citizens.
I said, I'm shot. And then I felt the heat
in my league as we're all running away.
This Philly resident shot in the leg this week, along with another man standing in front of her home. She did not want to show her face on camera, at times tears filling her eyes.
I shouldn't have to be afraid to stay in my home.
At the end of her sobering week, we're left with the vigils,
Corey is looking down on us right now.
the lives lost, the families grieving, and the almost certain knowledge that next week is all but guaranteed to happen again.
And Pierre Thomas joins us now. You just used the word sobering, and seeing this all in one place is about as sobering as can be.
George, I was struck by just the sheer concentration. So many children, the domestic violence, the mass shootings, 17 this week alone, where that's an incident where there are 4 or more people shot in basically one setting, 17 of those. It's difficult to absorb, and what we wanted to do was just take a look, to take a mirror and take a look at the country.
And this, in some ways, may be an undercount of the violence.
Oh, absolutely. These are conservative numbers. We did not account for gun death by suicide because those numbers are much more difficult. They're slower coming into the system. So according to our analysts, there would be hundreds more deaths in this number that we had this week.
So the big question is, how do we come to grips with this as a nation? What do we do about it?
George, I think at the end of the day, we have to answer a basic question. Are we okay with 1,400 people dying in a week? And it's going to happen again next week, over and over and over again.
Pierre Thomas, thanks for this report. I know it's going to be coming all week long. Roundtable's up next. We'll be right back.
That's pretty sad whenever you have those type of statistics that's coming out. Actually, it's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Whenever the people that we have paid to protect us and take care of us, regardless whether it was jobs or security, and to see this type of in-depth failure where you got kids like this right here shooting and killing one another with guns because they think that that's the only last alternative to choose. We are living today in a third world country to the point that now it has become nothing but, I'm going to use the word Baghdad, that we have turned into a Baghdad over here in America because various people didn't want peace and utopia. They didn't want to support the ministry that supported those things. So now I sit back and I grieve with the people that's grieving. I sit back and I hurt with the people that's hurting. I sit back knowing the truth about what has went on, not just recently, but going back 30 some odd years ago, whenever people, generally speaking, should have gotten in behind this movement and chose not to. The best that I can hope for today out of all this gun violence is that maybe somebody will pick up on my story and they'll want to hear more about it because of the authenticity of my story. And maybe there'll be some compassionate people that will want to help the founder of the Windmill Ministries out here at 291 Thompson Road, Sharon, Tennessee, zip code 38255. And if not, I'm just going to let the pot boil over and just see how far this is going to go before various authority figures in this area finally figure out that they have made a harsh mistake towards not supporting the Windmill Ministries. Now, whenever it talks in the Bible about a great sword, it's not great because of the content of the metal that it's made out of. It's not great because of historical value. It's not great because it costed X amount of dollars. That sword laid upon an altar while an individual was fasting and praying for a revival and got all kinds of resistance during the time that I was doing this up in Land Between the Lakes. The predominant reason for the prophecy reading in Revelation chapter 1 and 2 leading into Revelation chapter 6, 3 and 4 pertaining to the great sword, pertaining to the peace and utopia, is something obviously that these preachers and politicians chose not to want to observe voluntarily, because they was so convinced that whenever the Father comes back, that everybody instantaneously was just going to vanish and disappear. They was going to be transfigurated from mortal into immortal, and we was going to go home and live with God forever and forever. You know, I wish that our departure was going to be that easy. And there will be a few that's on top of the house, for he said, do not come down. That if you be up on top of a rooftop, do not come down. If you be in a field, do not take up thy cloak or thy clothes. In other words, just stay there until you know what's fixing to happen. But there will be a transformation period of people being transfigurated from mortal to immortal when God the Father does come back. And he will come back with the Son sitting up on the right hand of him, rapturing or taking away, gathering up the elect from the four corners of the earth, because it specifically says that in the Bible. But before that occurs, there's going to have to be a revival that will lead into a revolution that will have to have peace and utopia before God the Father is going to come back for the true church like that. I don't know why these people didn't want to support the windmill ministries. I don't know if they was just cowards. I don't know if they didn't have the capability of reading the Bible and interpreting it the way that I had interpreted the Bible. I don't know if it was because of the color of my skin or if I just wasn't raised up on the right side of the railroad tracks. I don't know why society in this region, in this area, chose to want to shun, blackball the individual that's talking to you right now, other than it being a demonic force working through them, because they thought that I was doing this for celebrity purposes, that I was trying to become some sort of celebrity. Well, I don't know of any celebrity that would want to go through 3 major psychiatric evaluations to take a year and a half out of his life, his or her life, plus all the other trouble that I have had scrapes with various law enforcement agencies, regardless whether they was in Tennessee, Kentucky, Oklahoma, and even some up in Atlanta, Georgia. I don't know of no celebrity that would want to go through all those horrors. But if I am a celebrity, I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, if I am a celebrity, I have literally went through those type of horrors. So I just want the record to show, as of July, what is this, the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, something like that, today's Sunday, 2021, I want the record to show that the bloody road ahead is in fact a prophecy that is now fulfilling itself on a day-to-day, everyday level. And it's not just that way here in America. It's all over the planet, of various dispersed problems, issues, uprisings that's happening right now, even as I sit and speak. People are being hunted down, murdered, killed, because they're making a stand right now towards not agreeing with what their officials have been involved in doing. The quicker that they come to my house and take me out, the more pleasanter that it would be towards me not having to go through this pain and suffering that they have brought upon to not only me, but upon to themselves. For the Bible says to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. No wonder we're having all the suicides. No wonder we're having all the gang violence on the streets. Our system has failed. We're dealing with a broken system. That's the reason why my brother and I, in 2014, come out here and built a structure and put the cross sideways, indicating the brokenness of a government. The broken system. The broken cross. Broken lives. Broken hearts. Broken communications. Broken families. Broken jobs. Broken bridges. Broken roads. Broken politicians. I can go on and on and on with the word broken that fits into the category towards a bloody road ahead. And it's sad. It is really sad whenever you sit here and watch this on TV again and again and again, realizing that the statistics, rather than them shrinking, are going down. In actuality, they're actually going up. Just like it talks about right here, as far as these statistics. Increasing 73%, 173 increased, May increased. I mean, these are all factual statistics. This isn't ideology. This isn't somebody's theory. This isn't somebody just off the cuff spilling out a bunch of stuff to put fear in communities. This is actually occurring all over the land. And it's only going to intensify and get worse because of what the hippie era done towards trying to drown out a ministry that was a God-called ministry with a God-called anointing on it, that they wanted to drown it out and either pretend that it was a lie or pretend that my motives was in the wrong spot towards standing up for God Almighty to begin with. And as we continue to go through this cycle every week of all this violence, blood is being spilt on our streets the same way as it's being spilt in other third world countries all over the planet. Good luck to all of us. And as we end our program every time, shalom and God bless America.